And we're recording. So, hello everyone, and thank you very much for joining us on this webinar tonight. As some of you already know, it's the second one of our series. We'll probably have to redo the first one for those of you that didn't manage to make it back then. And I also pressed the record button on the first one. Okay. This will be in English because we have quite an international crowd here. And let me take you through what's going to happen now. So, let's see, we are here. This is the second webinar from a series of 4 webinars we're hosting before the launch of our level design course on Udemy. And it's to prepare a bit with our expectations on what we're going to be studying in the course. Also to level up a bit of our theoretical skills before we actually go into like practical hands-on stuff. So it's also a good chance for everyone attending to shoot questions, be it on what I present here or about the following course, the course we will launch on Udemy. So I'm your host, Victor, but I guess you probably knew that already. And our moderator will be Irina. This is the schedule. We usually allow for 10 minutes warm up because we still have people joining in. Not everyone joins from the start, from the get-go. So we have like 4 more minutes left of the warm up. Then we'll go into 5 minutes about me. I'll tell you how I got here, what I did in the past, and what I plan to do in the future. And yes, it involves the level design course. And we'll be talking 20 minutes about level designers. A lot of you asked a lot of questions about what exactly a level designer does last time. Thank you, CTV, for joining in again. Your feedback and opinions are also very welcome. By the way, guys, CTV is also a level designer and a mighty fine one, I might add. So other than CTV, do we have any other professional level designers in the room? Just type it in the chat. So, well, congratulations, Bianca. Congrats. Aladi, you will have so much fun with level design. Funny story, that's also how I got into level design, because I started in high school doing architectural renderings for my sister, who's a PhD city planner. Tanya, oh Tanya, again, this transition towards level design will be so natural for you. You'll have loads of fun. Okay, so let's also test a bit poll. Let's see if I can fire up a poll just to test the polling system to see it works. So it can be clicked. Okay, I'm trying to fire up the poll. Hello, Adrian. Welcome. Glad you could join us. Okay, so no polls for tonight. I'm having some trouble with the polls, but anyway, this webinar will be more about like free talk about what level designers do. I have just some general ideas to present, no technicalities for tonight. And it's good we have also software engineers on board, interior designers, architects, and at least two professional level designers other than me, CTV and Bianca. Okay, so the warm-up is now done, and I just have to go through these rules as well. Please be polite to other people in the webinar room. Feel free to continue asking questions in the chat. I will try to make a list of them and answer them during Q&A. From time to time, I will stop and answer questions directly if they're really like on topic and in the flow. And thanks everyone for joining. Especially Jan, he's a programmer. Okay. If something gets broken during the presentation, just try to reconnect, but everything should be okay. The webinar service is pretty good. So, first things first, as I've said before, but now everyone's in the room, why am I doing these free webinars? Well, we have an ongoing Indiegogo campaign about level design. Of course, I will build no matter of the sum I raise on Indiegogo. This is a personal project of mine. I will do it anyway. I am fully prepared to do it. The Indiegogo campaign is just a way for people to support the project before it starts and to allow them to access a premium quality course at a heavily discounted price with some exclusive perks which you can find only on Indiegogo, and they won't be available anymore after the Indiegogo campaign is done. And we do these free webinars to support and to prep those who already enlisted in the course before we actually start working the course. The past few days, I've actually given quite a lot of thought about this, and I'm pretty sure that all the backers will continue to get access to free webinars weekly from the moment the Indiegogo campaign ends up until we actually publish the course on Udemy. Okay, I am an expert level designer. I've started doing this about 12 years ago professionally. I worked on multiple AAA titles, and because I can't do polls tonight, I will just ask you guys to type in the chat. Have you played at least one of the following titles? Watch Dogs, Ghost Recon, and let me think of another one. Raving Rabbits, just for fun. So, have you played any one of them? And CTV, I think you actually worked on a few of them. Nice. Okay, answers are starting to drop in. Don't mind CTV, he's trolling us. Okay. Okay, so some of you have played them. Well, on all the titles I mentioned, Ghost Recon, both Future Soldier and Wildlands, Watch Dogs 1 and 2, and Rabbits Go Home, I was either part of the level design team or a technical director for the level design team or a lead level designer. The list of titles I've worked on is much longer. It's so long I don't want to go into that right now. If you guys want, you can find my full title list on Indiegogo, or you could just Google me or find me on Moby Games. Okay, so all the titles I've worked on, almost all the titles I've worked on, were multi-platform and multi-engine. I've worked with more engines than I can count, and I can tell you this to be like a unknown industry thing. Not all major game companies use only Unity or Unreal. There are a lot of powerhouse companies like Ubisoft and Electronic Arts or Remedy Entertainment, cough cough, CTV, which use their own in-house engines. And although our course will be based on Unreal, what I'm really trying to do with the course is to teach you how to think as a level designer. My main purpose isn't necessarily to teach you how to use Unreal Engine, although we'll go into extensive detail on how to use Unreal Engine for level design. My goal is to make you think like a level designer, and hopefully after you finish the course and you've studied and you've done all the exercises, you will be able to enter any kind of team, any kind of project, working with any kind of engine, and you will be able to function as a level designer in that team. So, what does a level designer do? That was like the most asked question in last week's webinar. Well, us level designers, and I prepared this answer specifically for CTV because he wasn't that satisfied with the answer I gave last week. We are the ones that build the physical world of the game somehow. We don't do the environment art necessarily. However, we are the architects of what people will play in the game, in the physical world of the game. If you want a very simple explanation, we're the puzzle designers. Although I don't want to insult any real life board game puzzle designer by saying that, and it's much more complex than that. We are fabricating gameplay, challenging gameplay for the players that keeps them engaged in the game's world. So that has something directly to do with the physical world, the topology of the game level, but also with a lot of other variables like game ingredients, for those of you that have been in last week's webinar with game mechanics. So that's why we always, as level designers, must have clear intentions of what we want to achieve in each and every part of the game, of the physical world where the player is moving around. Think about it like this. We are at the same time trying to take everything game designers give us, like game mechanics, all the upgrade for skill trees, and any kind of mechanic trees you have like lying around in the menu, and we try to give them meaning inside the game when you're actually running around with your character inside the game. So, as I said, running around with the character inside your game, you might have guessed it, there aren't that many level designers for, let's say, football manager kind of game. That's a game built in its entirety by programmers and game designers. Level designers, not so much. Okay. However, I think there are tons of level designers for a game like Candy Crush, because it has like a bazillion levels. Okay, everything clear so far? Just type it in the chat. I see no questions, so it must be pretty obvious. Okay. Yep, seems pretty clear. So, think about it this way. We as level designers, we string game mechanics together in a meaningful way. For everyone that was at last week's webinar, it must be pretty clear what a game mechanic is. But I'll just say it again for those of us that didn't attend last week. Yes, CTV, good question. We'll get to that. Game mechanics. As I've said last week, the game mechanic is the smallest ingredient of a game, which presumes to be interactive. By that I mean the game gives you a clear feedback. It proposes to you something that forces you to think, to make an action, to provide some input, and change the game's state. So as level designers, we are basically stringing together these tiny little game mechanics in a meaningful way to the player. This might be alternating walking with shooting in almost any kind of first-person shooter game. Or it can be alternating driving with shooting and with inventory management if we would be talking about a game like GTA 5. And if everyone saw what CTV typed in, there is this great difference between a world builder, someone who is interested only in building the meshes and textures, the models, the 3D models and textures for that game world, and a level designer. The main difference is the level designer is also concerned about how the players will feel like and think like when playing that specific part of the world. The world builder is entirely concerned with how the world looks like and how the world functions from a technical perspective. Do we have the proper frames per second in that world? Are we showcasing enough of the original concept artist's intentions and so on? So, especially for our architect friends here or interior designers friends here, level design, if you like, think about it as being also about how we guide the player through the map by challenging him. Yes, Aladi, that's another good point. So narrative design is something much more conceptual. It's about the story, whereas mechanic design comes in and supports the story. For instance, let's say your main narrative direction is a game where you, I don't know, rescue puppies. I'll give a stupid example. The mechanic design means a game designer or a level designer have to think of ways in which the player actually feels and thinks he's rescuing puppies. So as a game designer, I would say a mechanic should be click on a puppy and add it in your rescue bag or rescue basket, whatever. And as a level designer, I would be concerned with stringing a puppy, which has to be put in a bag, with a small part of navigation through the game world, then another puppy that needs to be rescued and put in a bag. I hope my example was clear enough. I just made it up on the fly, so yeah. Okay, cool. So let's look a bit at how level designers actually work. What's the process? And again, please, I always have to make this disclaimer. Take it with a grain of salt. I'm talking here about how level designers work in consistent environments. I mean, in companies, in long-term productions. I'm not talking about the weekend experiment with level design. If you want to be consistent as a level designer, this is something I do, and it's something I'm pretty sure CTV does as well. And Bianca, I'm pretty sure you might do as well. So especially for CTV and Bianca, who are professional level designers, please jump in if you find something funky which doesn't fit in here. But here's how I see it. First of all, any successful level designer starts with a clear intention. Rarely have I seen level designers working directly in engine or in the editor. Usually, we must have a clear intention of what we're trying to achieve with a game level. And just as an example, this could be enough of a clear intention. It's just a doodle on a napkin, or, okay, in this case, a drawing inside a notebook, which is much more customary, but it's a sketch of what you're trying to achieve. It's, yes, an architectural style plan, but more importantly, you visualize exactly what challenges you put in front of the player and how exactly the play space in which the player will move around has to look like. Sometimes, and especially for bigger projects or like AAA productions, which can last for years, these sketches are just the tiniest part of an entire level design intention, of an entire level design proposal, if you like. Usually, we bring in also reference shots, concept art. Okay, so good mention. There we go. Apparently, the presentation wasn't running. So, okay, the presentation is running now. So, level designers start from a clear intention. Again, for an enthusiast level designer or for a practicing or aspiring level designer, a sketch should be enough. And by the way, especially for the more architect-oriented guests of tonight, we will be sketching our intentions a lot during the level design course. So this is something you have to do without, let's say, any professional knowledge whatsoever, but you should be able to put at least a start point and an ending point and a simple level schematic before you start working. If some of you can go as far as doing 3D perspectives and so on, that's even better. It will help us, but it's not mandatory. After we do an intention, we switch to building the prototype of our intention. And usually, successful level designers always build just a gray box version of their intention. So it's just a rough shape that conveys the idea of the play space that will become one day final, but it's super simple for two reasons. One, we try to keep it as low resource consuming as possible. So it should work fast. We shouldn't spend a lot of time rotating the viewport and stuff like that. And also, it should be super quick to produce and to edit. We don't yet know if our intention is met, if our gameplay intention will work in that rough shape. So that's why we use just this simple style of gray box. Just keep it as simple as possible, put in only the necessary stuff you need to have there, and don't worry about making it pretty. As epic level designers always say, if it's fun with gray boxes, it will definitely be fun with art and lights. Then we start testing and improving. And this is something that actually takes a lot of nerve to go through. Sometimes you might look just like this. The guy in the orange shirt is me. Yeah. So you might get at start a lot of negative feedback, or you might get a lot of feedback that doesn't line up with your original intention. But if we go back to the previous step, that's why it's super good and smart to work with simple gray box forms, because you can easily go back to your gray box map, adjust everything, and retest it again. And this will also be part of our level design course. We will have to play each other's maps, and we'll also have to ask for, a cousin's help, friends and family, post it publicly, etc., in order to collect feedback. However, what I'll supply during the level design course is the structure for various questionnaires, so you can get proper feedback, and you'll also get my support on how to interpret that feedback. Okay, so we're testing and we're improving, and at some point our gray box level is perfectly aligned, or aligned just enough so we can say we're done. We have our intention in place. Now we're ready to finish it up. Well, finishing it up means polishing everything up. We'll have an art pack in our level design course. So basically, once you will be done with the gray boxing part and everything is nice and stable and it's one-on-one with your original intention, we'll have to start adding in lights, art assets, sounds, and if you're working on bigger projects, even complex animations for characters, scripted sequences, cutscene, etc. We'll just stick with art, lights, sounds, affixes, and simple introductory cutscenes. Camera work, basically. I do not consider myself an expert in cinematics, so I won't take it as far as staging ultra complex battle scenes before the level opening. However, I will share my knowledge on how to create compelling cinematic introductions and cutscenes throughout the level using the basic rules of cinematography, something I've studied quite a lot during these 12 years as a level designer. Okay, so everything's nice and polished up and you think you're almost done, but guess what? You're not. We have to also fix as many bugs as possible. Because the entire process of building a game level is pretty complex, and because each and every player will play your map maybe in a different way, you will be surprised of how many bugs can be encountered during the testing process and how many bugs more can appear during the polish process. So we also have a quick bug list. I won't necessarily go into extreme detail with the exercises you'll be making during the course, but we'll have a mandatory bug list, which means bugs which must be fixed, otherwise the level won't work at all or as intended. And then you will be able to find by yourself extra bugs by watching other people play the map and asking for their feedback and getting free bug reports from basically anyone who plays your map. And you'll be able to prioritize by yourself the order in which you have to fix those bugs. But yes, in large scale productions, any kind of commercial production, if you want to have a decent product, you have to kill as many bugs as possible. So that's about it on my side about what level designers do. I hope it's clear enough and we went into more detail than last time. Now, if you have any more questions about what level designers do, we should have about 10 minutes for our Q&A sessions. And if anyone is wondering who is Aspirina, that's one of the level designers there. Okay, so CTV proposed something. Okay, I could start clicking on that. Anyone else? Any more questions? Okay, so Bogdan has also a pretty good question. If that's what level designers do, what does a game designer do? Okay, so in our first webinar, we discussed a bit about the game mechanics, which are those tiny little ingredients of a game. And that's what game designers usually do. They are more concerned with coming up with unique or interesting methods of players playing the game. Um, they also work a lot on the player progression system. So, for instance, how any kind of player character goes from level 0 when they start playing the game to level 100 when they finish the game. However, any game designer, any successful game designer, works in close cooperation with the level designers and vice versa. Any successful level designer must be able to understand and have a constructive dialogue with the game designers on their project. As a mention for our level design course, we will be having predefined game mechanics. I will create them with the help of a few game designers as well to get everything going. But you will be able to challenge the mechanics or ask for improvements. Of course, minor improvements because it's still a level design game. But if we need to adjust the mechanic in order to have it working in your specific proposals, after a constructive discussion based on arguments, on constructive arguments and feedback, we might get there. Yes, Steve. Another excellent question. Can I show how to make a small level, the drawing, the modeling, the polish, etc.? So we're currently hard at work on making a short series on YouTube where we show exactly this. 5 minutes tops for each of the steps described here. A simple sketch, then a simple block out, a few rounds of playtesting, improvements, and then polishing it all up. It's pretty hard to show this now because we only have some 20 minutes left, and this takes a bit more time. I will use the miraculous advantages of YouTube, where I can do time lapses and accelerate the video capture from the editor or from the sketching. Um, there is something pretty similar in the trailer from the Indiegogo campaign. So there you can actually see a simple sketch, blocking it out a bit in Unreal, but that's not highly detailed. Okay, link. Yes, I actually do have the link. So in this trailer here, in the trailer from the link I supplied, you can actually see a very fast version. But there, I skip the gray boxing part, I just throw in the meshes, and you don't see the playtest cycles, so it's a bit more complex than that. I've already shot the first episode, I just have to put it all together, master the audio. I don't have a clear estimate for when it will be done, but I'm guessing someday next week. So if you also would follow the YouTube channel, the first time you get the update, we should be good. I'm working on getting you guys a link to the actual YouTube channel. So it should be this one. There we go. So this should be the link to the YouTube channel. Oops, something's not working. I'll put it in the follow-up email as well if the link is not working for you. Doesn't work. Okay. Okay, I'll drop it in a follow-up email because I have trouble sending that link through the webinar thing. The webinar software sees it as a YouTube video, not a YouTube channel. Maybe if I do, yes, that might be true. Anyway, we'll fix it with a follow-up email. Just check your spam folders as well, because our emails sometimes get into the spam folder, but you'll get the link. And it's also available from the Indiegogo page. If you just click the video to watch on YouTube, then that lands you in our channel anyway. Just subscribe to that channel and you'll see when we upload it. Okay, so I've added 2 spaces. There you go. I've added 2 spaces between youtube.com and the channel. That should work. Okay. Let's see what CTV sent us. Aha. Yes. So CTV has sent us an example. I'll try to actually put it directly on the screen. There we go. Okay, so can everyone see this? Cool. So this is press F11. Just a second, so I can find it. There we go. Okay, so thank you very much, CTV. This is a professional grade AAA concept for a level. This is where you go when you have to work with artists, with those world builders that also step in and have to build your map, and it looks something like this. A few phrases about the level. So what already catches my eye here is that the main intention here is this. The gameplay is circular, moving between the 4 main areas of the level. The level designer is thinking here about revisiting areas, so reusing the space, I guess, and he wants to make the player feel small in comparison. Beautiful, beautiful. See, it's small, real small. Okay, try switching between my view and the presentation view. Maybe that helps you. Okay, so this is the simple, very simple layout proposal. It's as simplified as possible. Okay. So what do we have here? We have a museum, we have an entrance and hallway, a back room and a laboratory, a library, a terrace, and an arboretum, which I guess is a place where there are a lot of trees. There we go. Another view, which I guess is from another angle. Okay. Okay. Aha. So there are 3 different layout proposals, says CTV. By the way, CTV, do we have to sign any non-disclosure agreements to look through this one? Okay, and as I was saying, here are some references for each of the parts. So this is how the level designer intends the terrace to look like. This is how the level designer intends the arboretum to look like, and this is super helpful both to get a sense of scale and also to help any kind of artist that comes in and has to build props, or even to help you during the polish phase, so you know how to get the lights right and how to place the props right and so on. Here's the museum with references about how a museum should look like. Here are the references for the library area, so I can clearly understand we're talking about massive walls covered with shelves, bookshelves, and some passageways at the upper floors, which is exotic and nice and will allow for nice vertical kind of gameplay. Yes, late for that. Okay, so I will be hosting a level design course if I don't get sued by any big gaming corporation in the near future. Here are proposals for the laboratory, and let's see. So the moment I see this as a level designer, I can only ask myself how many of these vials and jars can we break while shooting if it's an FPS. I hope all of them. And here are a few shots for how the entrance should look like. Again, we won't make it one by one as this one, but these ones will serve as inspiration. Okay, a link with other images, which contains further explanation of how each visual style should be like, and the map schematics. So we're talking about something which is roughly 100 meters by 100 meters, which is pretty big actually. Okay, okay. So if I'm not mistaken, CTV, is this floor by floor, this being the ground floor, the orange ones, blue being the first floor and some catwalks maybe, and the green being the, yeah, upper floor. Okay, so it's a floor by floor breakdown. There we go. Now we have the gray box version. There we go. Some more explanation about how the stairs should work, I guess, because now I can see exactly how we move between floors. Okay. Different size proposal, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, okay, so you're trimming it down based on whatever gets picked to be built. Yes. Okay, and now the actual gameplay. So remember how I said as level designers we string mechanics together? So here's what CTV is looking at right now in his proposal. I'm pretty sure it's 3ds Max CTV, if you're that kind of 3D artist, to answer the question. Okay. Public versus private spaces. Okay. The guard placement and movement. I can see in the red lines exactly how the guards will move. On the top level, on the catwalks, there are 1 or 2 guards who are patrolling. 1 guard. Okay, so it's 1 guard who is patrolling back and forth and going on either side of the catwalk. Ah, SketchUp. Okay, nice. Crowd groups positioning. Okay. Is this for something like Hitman or something, CTV, a Hitman style game? Okay, and here are some already iterations on the level design. Beautiful. I'm missing shots here, so I guess it's still work in progress. I let CTV answer. But thank you very much for sharing this with us. And again, I hope nobody attending this webinar will get sued. Yes. So it was a Hitman style game because of all the crowd and the guards. CTV obviously wanted the player to feel there he's sneaking around and making his way around the guards, and he must not get spotted. And yes, most of us level designers have some trouble finishing the presentation. Okay. Nobody's gonna get sued for seeing that presentation. Thank you very much, CTV. Okay, and now to close this course, this webinar, because we have 10 more minutes left tops. Um, Here's a surprise again as a thank you for attending. Actually, two of them today. The first one would be uh, one perk only for the attendance, which is the Power User perk. I think there are at least two people here in the room who supported us with the Power User perk. I'm trying to get more people to join me in the Discord channel we have. If I'm not mistaken, it should be CTV and Tanya. So you can get lifetime access to the course, your name in the credits of the course, and Discord communication with me and Irina as we're building the course up. You would literally get your say in the course content because we will be putting special priority to everything you find unclear in the course and you communicate during Discord, and any questions we should still answer. Of course, we will also be doing this with the users from Udemy, but you guys will be the first in line. Okay. So again, this is a special discount. So here is the Power User perk I've been talking about. I try to share the link through. There we go. Again, I've added a space between two spaces between projects and the rest, but I'll also send this through the follow-up email to everyone who attended the webinar. And if you guys would like to go a step further, we could also do a private tutor session, which means a dedicated tutorial program to support the course content you'll be learning. 45 minutes each week for 8 sessions. They don't necessarily have to be stringed together week after week after week. We have only 4 spots available, 4 seats available at an insanely discounted price. And I hope you will want to join us into working the course with my support one-on-one on Skype or whatever tool of communication you prefer. We get to bounce around the ideas. I constructively challenge you even more than the normal course structure, and we review your proposals, schematics, any kind of trouble you get into. I'm there, even if you just want to have these simple discussions about the gaming industry as a whole. However, I'm pretty sure the course will bring enough questions to keep you busy for these 8 sessions of 45 minutes each. Again, I'm sharing the link in the Indiegogo window. I don't know exactly if it will work or not. However, I will also send this in the follow-up email from the webinar. I guess we're almost done because it's like 5 more minutes and we're done. So if you can test out the links and tell me if it works, just jump in. I see a sign that says links are prohibited, so it might not work. You'll definitely get it in the follow-up email. 4 slots only for this private tutor at a massive discount because it's also about time management on my behalf. I have to be able to dedicate 45 minutes each week for people. And looks like, yeah, CTV has a very good question. Why are there so many famous game designers, but actually no famous level designers? Well, technically, Cliffy B, at least, was a level designer for almost his entire career before he switched to being the creative director on Gears of War. So that's one famous level designer, and I know for sure I'm like totally in love with all the level designers from the old school level designers from Epic. Tim Sweeney, if I'm not mistaken, is his name. He's actually pretty famous and he writes books, and I really enjoyed being in the same room with him and talking with him about level design. Yeah, okay. Now he switched to video game design, but he was a level designer for 12 years or something. He started out level designing on Jazz Jackrabbit 1 or 2, if I'm not mistaken, back in the late 90s. Okay, but only I know that because I am that kind of a creep, yes. So, without further ado, maybe we'll actually get to make level designers famous as well. I sure am trying. And maybe one of you will become a really famous level designer. So we could actually get some level designers on the whole social map of fame. If there aren't any more questions, I look forward to seeing you at our level design course. And don't forget, next week, same time, same place, we'll be having the third episode of this webinar series. This one is going to be about three simple things: lights, loot, and about how we're going to guide the player. Um, Sorry, lights, loot, and layout. I just said two of them. Lights, loot, and layout. And we're going to be looking at how exactly we guide the player through our level topology, through our layouts. I'll be going through a few industry standard techniques, which, as you might have guessed it, involve using lights, loot, and the map's layout. Again, just a scratch on the surface because we'll only have 1 hour on hand. Okay, and without further ado, thank you all very much for attending. I hope you have a great evening, great day, depending on your time zone. And I hope I'll see you also in the level design course once we release it on Udemy. You get the chance to be an early backer now and get it as a massive discount. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Victor, and I want to teach you everything I know about level design. We will be using Unreal Engine 4 to practice our skills. I have been credited as a level designer, lead level designer, or technical director for level design for the past 12 years on projects such as Ghost Recon Wildlands, Watch Dogs 1 and 2, and Rayman Raving Rabbids, just to name a few. Over the years, I have also taught hundreds of students about various aspects of the level design discipline, but I have come to realize there is little available knowledge about level design, and I believe it's one of the most mysterious and elusive disciplines of the entire game development family. Together, we can change that. By taking this course, you'll learn there are no magic ingredients, just pure knowledge and applicable techniques. Our course will be based on knowledge from psychology, architecture, image composition, and art, and you'll learn all the industry standard techniques used to create compelling content for video games. Our simple study loop, theoretical information followed by hands-on practice, will ensure you retain on a practical level all the knowledge and skills any level designer should master. We'll start simple, applying the basic rules of level design by creating levels for an isometric adventure game, and we'll work our way up to creating several first-person levels for a puzzle and exploration game. Fear not, you'll also get an introduction to the Unreal Engine 4 ecosystem, as well as in-depth tutorials and use cases for all the tools a level designer should master within Unreal Engine 4. Why should you support this project? First of all, because you can get access to a premium course at a low price. Secondly, because it's courses like this that will empower enthusiasts of the games industry to start creating their own content. Whether you're just starting out or you're already a professional ready to round your skill set, I look forward to having fun learning together. See you soon!